Along with Lakeena McGee, which is she, I am Cindy Brown. That's me. Welcome to Second City Sports. As we bring on a special guest to talk about Carlos Rodon's no-hitter from this past Wednesday, April 14th. Joining us here, as a friend, she's a friend of the program. She's the co-host of the North Side Sox podcast, and she covers baseball for NBC Sports. She's the one, the only Janice Scurio. Janice, welcome to the show. How are you?
Thank you so much, Sydney. I'm very well. How are you?
We're doing just fine. Doing just fine. Carlos Rodon pitched his first career no-hitter on Wednesday against the Cleveland Indians, part of an 8-0 shutout victory. Of course, he was denied a perfect game thanks to Roberto Perez. We'll get into all the nuances of that game in just a second, but I just want to get your initial thoughts on the no-hitter as a TV voice, Sox TV voice, Jason Benetti perfectly put it, as all that Carlos Rodon went through over the past couple years. What was your initial thoughts about Wednesday's performance?
Just for starters, absolutely incredible. I admit, I'm just going to admit this right off the bat, that when Rodon was brought back after being non-tendered, I wasn't the biggest fan of the move. I thought that Rodon would have better success with another organization who'd be willing to take on a reclamation project. That's honestly disrespectful to call him a reclamation project. He certainly had the stuff all along. He's just been kind of plagued with these injuries. And one interesting stat that I found was, Carlos Rodon had Tommy John surgery on May 15th, 2019. He's the first Major League Baseball pitcher to ever throw a no-hitter within 2 years of having Tommy John surgery. And as you all remember, last year in the wild card series against the Oakland Athletics, he was put in that horrible Game 3 situation and wasn't able to give us one lousy out. And for him to just kind of bounce back and not only throw a no-hitter, but I think the most fascinating thing about his performance was how he pitched. So he kept his pitch count low. He was pitching to contact the entire time. A couple of my friends pointed out as we were tweeting about the game that he wasn't really getting lots of whiffs. So his slider typically is the pitch that kind of lures those swings and misses. And early he was very changeup reliant, very kind of leaning on that changeup in order to give the slider a little bit more breathing room. But other than that, this performance really showed that you really don't need to be a strikeout pitcher in order to be successful. I mean, that's definitely a good tenet to live by right there. But other than that, just the way he did it. One of my friends made some early Mark Burley comparisons, which I thought was pretty fascinating too. Other than that, just absolutely magical.
Jazz, how do you think this is going to do confidence-wise for him? Because of course we all remember what happened last year. Maybe a middle relief guy, maybe not a starter, but then the Russo decided, I'll give you a chance as a starter. So how do you think this performance will make him, will make him feel like confidence-wise? Because I think that it's going to be very interesting to see how he does the rest of the way with this.
I think so too. And to kind of see this kind of performance from a back end starter in general, just like taking a step back for a moment, is really great to see. So he was also pretty successful in his first start of the year too. Looking back at last year, I just don't think operating out of the swingman role was really his true role. I think he's a lot happier starting. So I think that definitely factors in too. Wherever he's happiest is probably where he performs best. So in the future, I just want to keep seeing all these dominant outings from him, and hopefully someone like Dylan Cease follows through.
Yeah, just to piggyback off your last point, Jens, before I move on to my next question. Of course, now ex-manager Ricky Renteria put him in that situation, obviously high ironic against the Indians last year in that bases loaded situation. It turns out that the Sox lost the game. It turns out that game cost them the division title. But I'm with you. We'll see how long can he stay in that fifth spot rotation with Michael Klumpek and possibly Garrett Crochet coming. We'll get to those two guys later. But back to my next question. The last time we had you on was last season. We previewed the Cubs Sox series. Jose Abreu had a series of the lifetime, which led him to the 2020 AL MVP. He had, in my opinion, the play of the game on Wednesday, diving into first base. I thought, as a fan watching, I thought he tore his knee or he messed up his foot or his ankle or something. But me and Lakeena were talking earlier. All those players out there knew the situation, and given the White Sox defensive problems, which we'll definitely dive into here going in his interview. But that was one heck of a play by Jose Abreu. Talk to us about that play. After I saw that play as a fan, I said, Carlos Rodon's got this. There was no denying him now. Talk about that play by Abreu in the ninth inning.
Yeah, absolutely. So I was talking to a friend about this earlier, is that in every no-hitter performance, there are at least one or two of these just amazing defensive plays throughout the game that just completely just seal the deal. So, I think Jose Abreu was definitely, he had his Dwayne Wise moment. To kind of see his ankle kind of go into the bag. It gave me some palpitations for a little bit, just mainly because that's a really easy way to injure yourself. And we don't need that. We definitely do not need the reigning MVP injured at all. But as you definitely saw the aggressiveness of that slide. I can't remember the name of the player who slid into first, but I just remember his hair. He had like this mass amount of hair just like going. and I just remember him like I think they slowed it down. He's like, what?
Yeah.
I remember that. I remember the call and I remember his reaction, but I can't remember his name to save my life. Is it Naylor? Oh my God. I think something like that. Anyway, I won't dwell on that. But to kind of see that reaction from the opposing player, and also to just to kind of see Jose Abreu like literally extend his body. I think he might have made a couple of plays similar to that, where he's definitely kind of just doing this this leg contortion where he's just kind of falling back and making sure that his leg is at least like planted on the bag. That play was absolutely heart-stopping. So the other one that I want to point out is Leury Garcia's stop. A line drive basically came back to Leury. He was able to kind of to reel it in and then throw to first. So I think that was kind of the play that's been not talked enough about, or at least it hasn't been discussed as much as Abreu's play, for sure. But one other thing that I want to point out is that Cleveland was only able to make hard contact with Rodon like maybe 3 or 4 times. So I think the hardest hit ball by the Cleveland lineup might have been at around 110 miles an hour. And it was certainly, I think, either a line drive or a fly out. So that also kind of goes to show you how Rodon was so just effective in just inducing all of that soft contact.
Now, Janice, let's go switch gears here and talk about versus Mercedes for a second. I think he just got another hit. I think he just got another hit, even though Mercedes, get that man a Mercedes. My goodness, play around with the last name. But how long do you think he can keep this up? Because he's been pretty much unstoppable at the plate right now.
Oh my goodness. So I am on the Yermin Mercedes hype train. My Twitter name is literally the Yermin Mercedes hype account. Yep. Like I cannot say enough great things about Yermin. I was a huge proponent of him making the 26-man roster last year. But of course, the discourse that was going around at the time was that there's really no space for him. The White Sox at the time had just signed Edwin Encarnacion to like a some $1 million deal. So they definitely were not going to waste that by promoting a 27-year-old rookie. Hindsight is 2020, of course, but to finally see him come up and offer this amount of production is absolutely incredible. And a lot of people, especially in the first week, were like, is this a fluke? Is this absolutely real? And like, no, it's not a fluke. It is absolutely real. He's a career 300 plus hitter throughout the minors. He's been able to just mash his entire career, whether it's a high A ball, trying to think of his career with the Orioles. He's been able to hit in independent leagues. I follow him on Instagram, and so he was playing in an indie league, I believe in the Dominican Republic, and he was just mashing every night. So, I mean, I don't speak Spanish, but just from hearing him describe what he's doing and what he's hitting, I was just like, this guy's going to be so good this upcoming season. I hope he makes the team. If he doesn't make the team, I'm going to be really upset. And so, yeah, he made the team, and look where we are now. So he's like the first player in modern history to go 8 for 8 in his first start of the season, which is absolutely incredible. And also he's got just some ridiculous stats going on too. Not only can he hit, but he also can get on base. Because I write in the fantasy baseball world, a lot of people are very concerned about things like on base percentage. And I believe his on base percentage right now, I'm just going to guess off the top of my head, is like around 550. I could be wrong, but it's around that neighborhood. So 550 is like, that's no on base percentage to sneeze at. Like, that's really good. So I think he's legit. He is the real deal. And just to kind of see how he performs too, the way he changes his approach during the count. So if you notice, especially on 2 strikes, he'll maybe foul the first 2 pitches off, and then on 2 strikes, he shortens his swing. It's definitely a much more different approach. The swing is a lot cleaner. It's a lot more simple. And to kind of quote his words exactly, a lot of people have asked him before, like, Yermin, how are you doing this? Like how is this possible? And so Yermin Mercedes himself has said, like, I try not to do too much. And I think that is something that can be applied just to life in general. Just try not to do too much, and you will be successful. So I just can't say enough about Yermin Mercedes. I think he's fantastic.
Friend of the show, Ms. Janice Scurio of NBC Sports Edge, who covers baseball for that site, joins us here on Second City Sports along with Lakeena McGee, which is she. I am Cindy Brown. That's me. Janice, continuing to break down Carlos Rodon's no-hitter performance before we move on. Zach Collins, after the game, was asked, has he been in a situation where he's caught in a no-hitter? He said no. He only witnessed it last year, of course, with Lucas Giolito. Of course, we talked before we started recording that you were there in attendance. Of course, there was no fans allowed last year. Of course, there were fans allowed this year. That made me happy. Personally, I couldn't be there, but that's a personal issue. I'll leave that aside. Talk to us about Zach Collins' performance behind the plate. I thought he called the well of a game.
I think so too. And so strangely enough, Zach Collins isn't necessarily known for his defensive prowess behind the plate or his framing. So I think this was very interesting to see. And of course, too, just kind of knowing the pitcher-catcher dynamics. You definitely need to know your pitcher well in order to call a good game. So whatever work Zach Collins has been doing, I'm sure he's been just doing his homework, studying up on not just Rodon, but I'm sure the entire rotation in case Yasmani Grandal, knock on wood, gets hurt. He's going to be the one that has to catch these guys. I think, it was absolutely instrumental. And it was also really just great to see. Again, I'm going to be the first to admit that I'm not the biggest Zach Collins fan, especially last season. I honestly thought Yermin Mercedes could have taken his place, especially in the postseason. But that's neither here nor there. He definitely still just called a really fantastic game. And I don't think that should be ignored.
Okay, Janice, as of this recording, the Sox are under 500. They've been somewhat the slow start. Of course, the middle relief pitching has becoming some issues. They've had various defensive issues. So did you expect this team to be a little bit better than they are right now?
Yes, that's my short answer. I definitely expected this team to be a lot better than they are, but also kind of examining the circumstances with injuries. So Adam Engel, who I'm very high on, is out. So Eloy especially, I know that's a sore point of contention for all White Sox fans, but Yeah, we're definitely missing a lot of that run production. Defensively, though, I don't think we're missing much of Eloy defensively, but that's probably a story for another day. I honestly think, I think Andrew Vaughn's doing a really great job in left field. He was pretty much just learning a new position was just dropped in his lap. So the fact he's been able to kind of flash a little leather in the outfield has been nice to see. I think his arm could be a little bit better, but defensively, I think he's a huge upgrade over Eloy. I'm not sure if I want Eloy back out in left field, honestly.
Thank you. Thank you.
Nope.
Yeah, definitely. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. But certainly, I was certainly expecting this team to be a little bit better and to think of the first couple of games that were dropped. I don't know. I don't know if Tony La Russa is just pretty much, or I don't know if that was Rick Renteria with the Tony La Russa mask managing the bullpen, but I thought a lot of the bullpen moves in the first couple of games were kind of boneheaded. So kind of bringing Liam Hendricks in when you're down, I think like 6 runs, was it? I was like, why are we bringing in a multi-million-dollar closer to do mop-up duty? I don't think I would have done that. But other than that, I think given the circumstances and things that the Sox have had to deal with, I feel as if there's certainly room to grow, and I think there's room to bounce back as well. I know that the eternal joke is always that 500 is just out of reach for the White Sox, but it's only April 16th, and to give you an idea, I think the Royals are still in first place. It's certainly too late, or not too late. It's certainly too early to make any snap judgment calls right now.
Same with the Sox bullpen, Janice. We talked about it on the show before, myself and Lakeena, that Michael Kopech eventually is going to end up in the starting rotation, of course, due to Carlos Rodon's no-hit performance, and assuming that Rodon can stay consistent. Mr. Kopech is going to have to wait his turn just a little bit longer, but in the meantime, in between time, he's been pitching lights out coming out of that bullpen to start the season. Talk to us about that.
Oh, goodness. Yeah. He's been doing really well. And I think that the expectations for him were high. So I think to follow, it's been really good to kind of see him fall in line there. So to do a brief contrast, I know that Kopech and Crochet were kind of meant to be these like high velocity young hurlers to come out of the bullpen. So Kopech, I'm not concerned about. I think he might evolve into that swingman role eventually. But Crochet, I am a little worried about, just mainly because the velo is kind of not where it used to be. Because you and I know him from just being able to just throw absolute gas at moment's notice. But lately he's been getting rocked, and to, I suppose, like give him a little bit of the benefit of the doubt, he's been put in a lot of extra inning situations with the runner on second, which I think is just a complete garbage rule. Maybe you two agree with me.
Yeah.
But
yeah, we both agree.
Yeah. Yeah. It is a terrible rule. Yeah. You'll get no arguments from this quarter, Janice.
But but beyond the fact, though, it just seems as if Crochet isn't missing bats like he used to. And I say like he used to as if he's been in the league for years. He's still like fresh out of college. So again, he's definitely going to have some mix-ups, some flubs. But other than that, I just kind of hope he's not injured. I know late in last season, or not late in last season, in the playoffs, he was removed with a forearm strain, and everyone was like, oh no, what if he needs Tommy John again? So I'm not sure if maybe coaching is just telling him to ramp it down so he doesn't blow his arm out again, or if something is actually wrong. So I'm kind of hoping it is the former rather than the latter.
How good can Lisa Robert be?
Whew. If he starts hitting sliders, I think Luis Robert is going to be finally dangerous. I think so. I think it goes back and forth a lot. Last season, He very well could have won Rookie of the Year, but again, he went into that like disastrous slump in the latter half of the season. Yeah, I think a lot of pitchers figured him out, where essentially like you just throw stuff that moves, you just throw that slider away, and he's probably going to chase it. I think one thing that I have seen out of him that I like is that he does exercise patience at the plate sometimes. And so when he takes pitches, he's absolutely great. But of course, too, when it comes to those sliders, he has to get better at identifying those.
Miss Janice Scurio of NBC Sports Edge is joining us right here on Second City Sports, along with Lakeena McGee. I am Sid and Browns. We talk about the Chicago White Sox baseball. Janice, let's go to the offense. Yohan Moncada, last year he suffered. He had the COVID-19 virus. He admitted that it slowed him down last year. He didn't have the year that he thought he was going to have. This year, even though we're 2 weeks in, he's off to a slow start, but me personally, without looking at the numbers, I thought that the last Sunday's game against Kansas City and this series, this past series against the Cleveland Indians, he's starting to turn around a little bit. He had a couple of RBIs in that Cleveland series. Talk to us about Yohan Moncada. What do you expect for him this year? Do you think he's finally starting to turn it around at the plate?
Goodness. I hope so. I really hope so. I was getting worried a little bit. I think Moncada actually showed some life. Like when was the no-hitter? Wednesday? I think.
Yeah.
I mean, Zach Plesac was definitely not great at all. So it's really good that maybe this might be what Moncada needs to kind of get that confidence back. I hope he isn't streaky. He did hit a pretty good homer against Brad Keller a week ago, and he hit it pretty hard too. So admittedly, I was pretty worried for a while. Definitely looking at his numbers, not impressive. He's currently batting 191, OPS of 573. So kind of stinky at just surface level, but just kind of looking at what he's done. So he's currently on a 2-game hit streak. So who knows? Maybe things are finally turning around for him.
Yeah, you got to start somewhere.
Yeah. Well, how about Mick Mandergold? I mean, I know some Sox fans are kind of like, hot and cold with him. How good can he be in the infield, and also too with the bat?
Oh, goodness. I go back and forth on Madrigal, honestly. Whenever he gets those 2-strike hits, I'm like, yes, Nick Madrigal. Yes, keep doing that. And then he reaches base and just does just completely idiotic things on the base paths. And I'm just like, please don't get hurt. Just like, please. And I think that game a few days ago where Yermin Mercedes, I think, legged out an infield single and Madrigal was used as a pinch runner. And I'm just like, I honestly kind of trust Yermin on the base paths more, just mainly because he knows his limitations, right? I think he's definitely a little bit more of a smarter baseball player in general than Madrigal. But other than that, there's plenty to improve upon. I think defensively, defensively and on the base paths are probably his 2 big weaknesses. But when it comes to the bat itself, I think definitely his greatest power are just getting those slappy 2-strike singles that we love to see, especially better when they drive in runs.
Let's go back to the starting rotation, Janice. Of course, we all know about Rodon's great performance on Wednesday, but last Tuesday, Giolito had a great performance against Shane Bieber, but Cleveland had the runs at the end. Of course, Lance Lynn on Thursday, he had 10 strikeouts through 6 innings, but he threw a mistake breaking ball to Jose Ramirez because there goes the game for the White Sox. Talk to us about Giolito and Lance Lynn. Do you think those are the 2 workhorses for the Sox starters to go deep into innings? Because we all grew up watching at least a couple of pitchers go deep into a ball game, so at least 7 to 8 innings. You don't see that anymore, but at least for what I can see, manager Tony La Russa trusts both Giolito and Lance Lynn to go deep into the ball games.
Yeah, absolutely. So it's really nice to see La Russa kind of trust his players in that regard. Other than those two games, where both Giolito and Lynn were absolutely lights out the entire time. Very frustrating, just mainly because I'm like drawing so many parallels between them and Jacob deGrom, where you're seeing all of these just like quality starts, these absolutely elite performances from these ace pitchers, and the offense isn't able to reciprocate that. It does get frustrating, I'm sure, because winning is a team effort. It absolutely is. Especially because when you think about a guy like Giolito who throws high velocity, there's definitely going to be a lot of wear and tear on that arm. So Giolito's already had Tommy John, and I believe Lance Lynn has too. Mm-hmm. So with those guys, they're used to throwing hard. They're used to going long innings. There are workhorses definitely needed, because there are some times where the bullpen might be used a tad too much. I think anytime that the starting rotation can give the bullpen a night off is always a good thing. Is mainly because then, you know everything's south when you see a position player kind of performing mop-up duty. And I don't want to, as much as I think position players pitching is absolutely fascinating, I don't want to see any of that this year.
How do you think the White Sox measure up to the rest of the AL Central? I know it's early. Casey's leading right now as this recording. Who do you think that can really give the White Sox some problems?
Goodness. I'm honestly, I don't know if maybe I'll eat my words later. I honestly hope I'm wrong. But I think the Tigers might give the White Sox a little bit of a problem. So just thinking about old friend Nomar Mazara, he's already has like more home runs right now than he did in the entire 2020 season. I think he's also driven in more runs than he did all last year too, but maybe that's a gross exaggeration there. The Tigers also have got Akil Baddoo, who is kind of your mean Mercedes equivalent. Again, another really fascinating story. Rule 5 guy picked up. I think he's 22 years old. Just is absolutely able to mash anything and everything. And that pitching staff too. So Tarek Skubal, Casey Mize. So they're all having some pretty formidable starts. Other than that, I am not so sure about the Twins. They've had a rough couple of games. So Cleveland too, even though the White Sox very well could have swept that series with Cleveland. It didn't happen, but it's still early in the season. There's plenty of time to get those games back. I think Kansas City, I don't think I gave Kansas City enough credit for their offseason. I think especially adding Carlos Santana and Andrew Benintendi, I think those guys are really going to contribute well to Kansas City. And Kansas City, like weirdly enough, also has a pretty solid bullpen too. Thinking about Josh Stalmont, I don't know, not a huge fan of their pitching rotation. Brady Singer seems like he might be a pretty formidable guy. But other than that, I think the Tigers might give the White Sox the most trouble.
Before we move on, Janice, as a personal note, I'm glad that cheater H.A. Inch is not on the South Side. Even though the Sox didn't talk to him, according to reports, I'm glad that cheater is not on our team. But that's a whole nother issue for a whole nother time.
Yeah,
Janice Scurio.
You and me both.
Yeah, I'm glad you understood. Janice Scurio, friend of the show from NBC Sports Edge, is joining us here on Second City Sports along with Lakeena McGee. I'm Sidney Brown. We're halfway home with our interview. Janice, let's stay with the White Sox before we go to the rest of baseball. Adam Eaton, so far 3 home runs. Where did his power surge comes from? Do you think that he belongs at the top of the lineup? I know Tim Anderson, who just returned to action on Thursday. Do you think that Adam Eaton deserves to be at the top of the lineup or the bottom of the lineup?
Oh, man. That's a great question. Just mainly because at first I was like, okay, this guy definitely is more of a bottom of the lineup guy. But looking at his on-base percentage, 370 right now. I don't know. I believe that's like definitely top of the lineup material to me. and just he's 3 home runs, 10 RBI, 5 walks too, which I think is super important. He's also been hit by a pitch 3 times. Not that I don't necessarily agree with a lot of his on-field and off-field antics, but other than that, I think he's proven that he could definitely be a good top of the lineup guy.
That was a bull crap call. I'm keeping it clean for the kids. That was a bull crap call on Thursday. He was safe at second base.
He was.
We'll leave that alone.
yeah. So it's another story for another episode. Janice, how do you think Tony La Russa is doing so far as manager?
The first couple of games, I definitely kind of saw a lot of that conflict between kind of like this old school baseball ideology kind of clashing with this new school kind of let the kids play type thing. I kind of figured that might be an issue, but if it was an issue, it would probably be like either just brushed aside or resolved pretty quickly. I know that a lot of the players in the clubhouse, Lucas Giolito included, seem to get along with him great. I think Tim Anderson gets along with him great too. And I mean, hey, if they have no problem with him, then I have no problem with him. Other than that, the only things that I've been critical of are a lot of Renteria-like decisions with the bullpen, which I was talking about earlier. But there are a lot of things that I think he probably still needs to grasp. I think earlier he wasn't aware about the time limit on challenges. There were some challenged plays he didn't go after. And it's sort of like, oh, all right, so where is this Hall of Famer baseball person wisdom that we were supposed to, that we were promised? But again, though, even though I think last time I came on your show, I told you guys that I wasn't a huge fan of the move. I'm not a fan of nepotism in general. So that's mostly why I didn't like it, honestly. But other than that, he manages like my favorite baseball team. So it's sort of like what the hell do I do? Right. So other than that, like I've got an open mind though. I mean, if he certainly just wants to, win games, that's totally like, I'm good with that. I'm good with that.
This weekend, Janice, I should say, the White Sox have a big 4-game series in Boston against the Red Sox. Of course, Friday's game was rained out, so they'll play 2 on Sunday. And, of course, they have the Patriots Day game on Monday at 10 o'clock a.m. Chicago time. That's all right, folks. I did not misread. It's 10 o'clock in the morning Chicago time on Monday. But Boston, the Red Sox has been one of the surprise teams in Major League Baseball this year. Of course, the White Sox are a game under 500. What do you expect to see from the White Sox this weekend in Fenway?
Oh my goodness. So hopefully if it stops snowing in Boston.
Nor'easter.
Like, oh goodness.
Nor'easter. Spring nor'easter in the Boston.
Yeah.
The whole area.
For crazy. Sure. The Red Sox have some players that are absolutely lighting it up right now. So JD Martinez. JD Martinez is 2020, not great. But of course, too, with loosened COVID protocols, players are now able to study video again in the dugout. So they weren't able to last season. A couple of players said that they were really affected by it. And I believe it. As someone who loves to study video myself and someone who always likes to correct where I've gone wrong, I totally get it. So I think Yasmani Grandal said that he was affected by the rule. So did Javi Baez. And JD Martinez was also one of them too. And so right now he's got a 378 batting average, absolutely mashing right now. American League leading 5 home runs, 16 RBI. They've also got some good speedsters too. So Marwin Gonzalez, Christian Vasquez, each with 2 stolen bases each. The offense, I think, is definitely going to be one to watch out for. So hopefully White Sox pitching is prepared for that.
I know it's like super early in the season still, Jan, as we are, not even like 3 weeks in, but what team and player in either league, either the AL or the NL, has impressed you so far?
Oh goodness. Oh goodness. So non-White Sox player.
Right.
So certainly Akil Baddoo is probably one of them from the Tigers in the American League. I think he's looked absolutely spectacular. So in the National League, I think someone who is definitely making a splash right now is Zach McKinstry of the Dodgers.
Mhm.
I believe he even like walked the game off for them the other day. Very kind of a vague anecdotal evidence, but every time I check with my Dodgers Twitter friends, Zach McKinstry is always doing something, and it's always like helping the team win. I think he's going to be one to watch out for too. And he's currently operating as an outfielder for the Dodgers too. And the Dodgers are still winning games. They still have the best record in all of baseball. And this is with Mookie Betts out. This is with Cody Bellinger out.
Yep.
They've shown that they know what depth looks like. Yeah, the Dodgers have it figured out. Good for them.
Speaking of the Dodgers, Janice, last question from me as we wrap up the conversation with you. Another big series this weekend will take place in San Diego between the upstart San Diego Padres and the Los Angeles Dodgers. Of course, Fernando Tatis Jr., who had the big signing, not signing bonus, but he had a big contract extension in the offseason.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, he injured his shoulder about a week and a half ago. He's expected to play this weekend. Do you think that was a smart decision for the Padres to bring him back just for the series? Because I'm a common sense type of guy, if you haven't noticed. But if San Diego wasn't playing the Dodgers, Fernando Tatis Jr. will be on the injury list right now. So can you tell me that was a bad decision or a great decision by the Padres organization?
Oh man, I've talked about this a little bit before, where the general consensus is that they're rushing him back way too quickly. Yeah, I did see a video of him taking grounders successfully at short. So maybe he's feeling good, but they discovered they diagnosed it as a shoulder subluxation, and I'm just sort of like what the heck is a subluxation? Like I think everyone was like what is that? Yeah. Right. So
let's Google that one.
Right. And usually if it's some sort, right, if it's some sort of injury that you've never heard of before, it's likely pretty bad. It's essentially a dislocation, which I mean, probably. I'm not a doctor. I don't know how that compares with Eloy Jimenez's tear of his pectoral. But I just have a feeling that it might be a little too soon for him to come back. I totally understand why they would do that, though. But thinking about who they have right now filling in for Tatis at short, I believe it is Kim. Can't think of his first name. Ha-Sung Kim. There we go, Ha-Sung Kim. So to kind of look at what he's been doing right now, currently he's batting 194. Three runs, only one homer, 2 RBI. I don't know if maybe it's because they're not too happy with his production at the plate, but otherwise, Sydney, I agree with you that it might be a little too hasty for him to come back.
I was shocked when I saw that yesterday. I was like, you guys talk about it was like going to be pretty serious. And now you're trying to bring it back for a series that probably won't mean anything this early on, but I don't know. Like maybe that's why they're managing it. We're doing what we're doing. So, last question for me, Janice. I think with COVID, with everything slowly starting to get back to normal. Sid and I have been having this discussion for like the last few months, especially once the vaccines started becoming more and more available. When do you think we'll see like full capacity in these baseball stadiums? We're seeing there already in Texas, of course. But here in Chicago, they're keeping it very limited, which is very, very smart. So when do you think we'll see, the full capacity? Are we going to see it just in time for that playoff push for the White Sox, or what's your opinion on it?
Oh goodness, I honestly hope it's limited as much as it needs to be, just mainly because, I mean the vaccines rolled out. I think the more people get vaccinated, the better I will feel about it. And just a personal anecdote myself, I'm halfway through my vaccination process. My second shot scheduled for next Monday. I am so incredibly happy for that. So you won't see me at the ballpark until I'm fully vaccinated, just mainly because I certainly want to limit my carrier risk, and I also want to limit my own risk too. But other than that, I think going to full capacity in the near future would definitely be a foolish decision. We're already seeing cases resurging in Illinois as is. So I mean, we're almost at the finish line. We're almost on the exit. We're on the exit ramp, like trying to get off the expressway, but there's traffic, right? We just got to be patient. Like we got to continue masking. We got to just push through it. Just limit our contact with others if we can, and just do our best to be safe and protect others.
All right, that was friend of the show, Miss Janice Scurio of NBC Sports Edge, and she's also the co-host of the North Side Sox podcast. Janice, thank you so much for joining us here today. Great job, great analysis as always. Where can people find you on social media, and where can they catch your podcast?
Absolutely. So you can follow me on Twitter. My Twitter name is Scuriosa, which is my last name's misspelled, Scuriosa. North Side Sox. We're an SB Nation podcast. You can find us at North Side Sox Pod. We've actually got an episode dropping tomorrow. Pretty cool. And you can find my work on South Side Sox and NBC Sports Edge. So yeah, thanks for having me on, guys.
All right. Thank you very much, Janice. Don't be a stranger. You know you're a friend of the show now, so this was your second appearance. Please come back again. We hope to have you on again later in the season.
Thanks,
Thank
Janice.
you. It would be my pleasure.
Thank you so much, Janice.
All right.
Stay safe.
Thanks. Take care. You too. Bye-bye.
Bye. All right, that was Janice Scurio. Sid, oh boy, that was a lot of fun. You know, we're always educating us on all things baseball, Miss Janice. So I always love when we have her on the program.
Yes, always diving into the numbers. Of course, we all know that baseball is a numbers game, and she does a great job for NBC Sports Edge. And she check out her articles, and it's very insightful. So you can follow yours truly on the Twitter and the IG at SidKid80. Once again, at SidKid80. That's SIDKID80, SIDKID80.
You can follow me at Keenan McGee on the Twitter and at Keenan_McGee on the IG.
You can catch our episodes on Second City Sports on YouTube at War Media every Monday and Friday. And you can catch our podcast every Tuesday and Saturday at War on Anchor, which kicks you over to Spotify, iTunes, SoundCloud, Stitcher, Google Play, and that our iHeartRadio app. Type in that search engine box on all podcast platforms, WARR on Anchor. And you can follow us on all social media platforms at War Media. That's Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. That's once again at WARR Media on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram.
All right, so stay safe out there, everybody. Once again, for Sid, I'm Lakeena. This has been Second City Sports Zoom style, and we'll see you next week.
Till next time, holla!